Don't eat me. I am a very old and magic goldfish of the lake. If you let me go, I will tell you a story about Staunton Country Park. This lake was built by Sir George Staunton, who bought Lee Park in 1819. He worked in China for many years for the British government. Sir George created the pleasure grounds and parkland. The park is over 1,000 acres and includes follies, glasshouses, and an ornamental farm. It is a working farm with animals, but the buildings and pens are part of a garden layout.
My name's Adrian McKay, but they call me Taff on the farm. Well, my job involves being responsible for all the animals on the park and on Lee Park Gardens. I look after approximately at any time 180 various animals. Guinea fowl, chickens, rabbits, guinea pigs, alpacas, llamas, sheep, donkeys, horses, cows. We do have various animals with characters. So we've got Katie the pig, who will sit if you ask her to. We also have peacocks, which are sort of the emblem of the park. Only one of them has a name, and his name's Mr. Speckle. Well, llamas are camelids. Come from, well, South America, but they're also found, I think, on the Russian steppes as well. They're found in two areas. So, and their wool for the alpacas for llamas is usually turned into felt to make tents they used to years ago for people in Peru, then not here, obviously. We have nylon. Alpaca wool is used to make fine clothing. Turns into wool and they spin it in with wool and make yarns. And then we have students who come in sometimes and ask if they can brush the cow when it was a Shetland pony. Right, well, the ornamental farm is where, in the olden days, back in the 18th century, all the rich people used to show off their best animals to their friends at weekends. Well, it's all to do, if you had the best pig, you'd want to show that to your friends. And unusual animals, perhaps, you had. They obviously wouldn't have had llamas.
Sir George was a keen plant collector and grew exotic and tropical specimens in glasshouses within the walled gardens.
My name is Chris Bailey and my job title is Head Horticulturist. The name of the park is Staunton Country Park because it was George Staunton which impressed upon the site what we see today and what we try to preserve now and for future generations. In 1845 he basically got rid of the existing glasshouses inside the walled garden and built what we see today, which is called the Stove House, and the Tropical Lily House, which was a little bit later of 1850-1851. The purpose of the main Tropical Stove House is for the cultivation and display of flora from the wet humid tropics, which really encompasses the rainforest zones within the world. And he also had a team of at least 16 gardeners here at Staunton, which was then called Lee Park. He also sponsored and paid for plant collectors to collect plants in very unforgiving landscapes in China, Korea and Japan. People such as Robert Fortune, and they would bring plants back, having collected them the other side of the world, and those plants would be grown here. I mean, one of the most well-known plants, particularly that we grow every year from a seed and which visitors obviously appreciate, is the giant Amazon water lily. Its Latin name is Victoria amazonica. Obviously it's a truly tropical plant which comes from Guyana, Brazil and the tropical areas of Bolivia. We generally grow it from a seed every year. We keep it in a nursery tank and we grow it on, and then anything up to a week, 10 days after being potted on, it's ready to be transferred to the main Amazon lily pool house. That lily pool is about 1.5 meters deep and over 10 meters across, and the water is kept at about 26, 27 Celsius. Having planted it in the middle of the pool, it's generally about 3 months after sowing from a pea-sized seed that the lily pads are 1.5 meters, and in a good year up to 2 meters across, and it flowers as well.
George Staunton had many plants named after him: Ligustrum stauntoni, Stauntonia hexaphilia, Els Hotzia stauntoni, as well as a poppy and a fern.
Oh, pleasure gardens. They date back mostly to the 18th century in the Ranelagh Gardens in London and the Georgian Kings pleasure gardens in Vauxhall, Ranelagh Gardens, where people could walk and take the air and enjoy themselves, and there would often be music. Composers like Handel would write music for them. And pleasure gardens spread around the country. The original pleasure gardens were in London, but they've spread around the country, and you could call Lee Park Gardens pleasure gardens because they're there for people's pleasure. They're free to enter. People take picnics and they can fish in the lake if they pay or they become members. We have an angling club. They can have barbecues. It's pleasure. It's what to do when you're not working, which has to be pleasure, isn't it? There is an island still on the lake which is called Fort Island. Yeah. And when he was in China, coming down, maybe sailing down down the Yangtze or the Yellow River, the little cannons on the side used to salute him as he sailed past. So on Fort Island, which nobody goes to, there are still 9 cannon ports, because he created the lake. It was a small lake, but he made it much larger and had these islands put in. And Fort Island is still there, but we don't visit it because it's listed now.
One of the islands used to have a fort with 9 guns and displayed the imperial yellow flag of China. Oh no! Watch out! Here come the pirates!
The reasons that Staunton is so special is because all of the different people who lived here have left something for us to enjoy now. So there have been lots of people who have owned what we call the estate. So what people call Staunton now, we call an estate. And there have been lots of owners. One of the owners was Sir George Staunton. At the time, so in the 1800s, when Sir George Staunton bought the estate, to show off that you had money, it was very fashionable to have an estate and to say, oh, look at this, I own all of this land. Sir George Staunton wasn't married and he didn't have a family, but he used to have lots of people come and visit. So he wanted to be able to show off the farm, or as it was known then, the firm ornamental farm, was already here, so he would show it off to visitors. But he was trying really hard to show off all of his plants in the glasshouses and in the what we call now the country park, but in the gardens. So the follies that Sir George Staunton created were again all part of him wanting to show off. Follies sometimes people use the word even now to say a bit of a folly, which is when people maybe spend money on something that they don't need or isn't very useful. So Sir George Staunton's follies might have been a chance for him to put up things about his family. So he might have, with the show house, shown people who were in his family and different names, so a way of remembering them. They might have just been almost playthings, places where he again could let people go and have a look around and discover as they walked around his estate. Lots of strange things happen here at Staunton, and we blame it on Sir George. It's a little bit of a joke between the staff here. So when things go missing, or when we've said we've done something and it hasn't, we haven't really, then maybe we use Sir George as an excuse.
After William Henry Stone's death and his house gone, the ghost of William Henry Stone appeared every night in Lee Park and makes his ghost house appear where it once was. Mr. Stone's ghost lives his ghost house through night, and at dawn the ghost and his house disappear.